Hey guys, MrPokke here, back with another video, and this is going to be the first of our upcoming series of early access reviews, taking a look at the brand new reworked, updated buffed units that's going to be Silver Wolf, Honkai, as well as Bleaching them. So just a little bit of preface, for all of the reworked units, we already see the exact figures as well as multipliers and the changes I've made in my video somewhere over here, so kindly check that out, and I'm not going to waste both of our times and just jump straight into the impact of what exactly these changes do in terms of combat performance in the different endgame contents as well as the team comps, right? So for Silver Wolf first, because in my opinion, I think she's gonna be one of the most popular and most looked upon units with regards to the rework. She is gonna be the first of the 4 series of rework early access reviews because technically speaking, she has received the biggest changes out of any of the other 4 with a much needed performance upgrade from what used to be an almost neglected unit, and I will now be breaking down how her kit functions in the endgame content, different playstyles, different team comps, as well as some additional notes. So without further ado, let's just jump in first into the character kit. For the detailed look, and this is going to be for every single rework unit, kindly check out the previous video over here where I break down every single one of the buffs, and I'll just be giving you guys a summarized version over here so we can get into the good stuff as fast as possible. So 120 or 100% base chance for all of our abilities, guaranteed weakness implant on slot 1, no more mono quantum requirements to force your element, and you can transfer the weaknesses to new enemies when the target is defeated. Her ultimate also becomes an AoE 45% defense down, which is gonna be also having a very decent multiplier, especially for the Silver Wolf Eidolon owners. Do take note that the toughness bar damage has been reduced from 30 to 20 to account for the fact that it is no longer a single target ultimate, right? For the defense down baseline, you're gonna be increasing all the way up to 57% defense down, 73% with Resolution S5, as well as 81% with Cypher Signature Light Cone. She also gains up to a 50% attack buff, which should be guaranteed for your 67% EHR, assuming that you want to land 100% base chance for your bucks, right? And then you are going to be guaranteed a 2-turn ultimate running ER rope plus tutorial light cone, or even a 1-turn ultimate guaranteed with an E1 plus tutorial light cone. Lastly, E2 has 20% vulnerability, and everybody can help apply the debuff. So that is pretty much every single one of the buffs tied to Silver Wolf, and now we're talking about the impact of these buffs itself. Regarding the weakness implant, this is going to be best used with Epoch Shadows, and you can consider a slot 1 to not be the DPS unit, but even the teammate that deals the highest amount of toughness bar damage for the fastest break possible. Generally, I would still try to reserve the slot 1 for your main DPS, especially because unlike the other weakness implants we have seen nowadays, Silver Wolf's weakness implant actually does give you the 20% res down, which is going to be helping you dealing more damage, right? Unfortunately, in a dual DPS scenario, you can't really implant both weaknesses consistently, so you can adjust based on unit that deals more damage, and unfortunately, at the end of the day, for dual DPS, they do tend to prefer either Robin, Tribi, or Runmay's team-wide buff as compared to Silver Wolf. But that being said, it might depend on some environments where Silver Wolf might be able to compete with them, but I digress, right? For the EHR requirements, hitting 38% EHR is going to be more than sufficient unless you want to have 100% base chance with the bucks, because that would require you to have 67% EHR as per any sort of the 100% base chance debuffs, right? For a 120% base chance, if you don't really care about the bucks being 100% at all, then only 38% EHR would give you the debuff necessary, right? For the AoE ultimate, it's actually very good for any DPS, inclusive of single target DPS, to swap targets instead of just waiting for the single target defense down, which has been one of the biggest weaknesses when you want to use Silver with Scylla last time. Because for Scylla, if you wanted to kill one of the mobs, you want to kill one of the minions, only one of them is defense down, and you have to wait for like 3 turns for the Silver to apply the ultimate defense down again. Now this is no longer the case. Any DPS can make use of this AoE ultimate, a very good change. Now keep in mind, only the ultimate is going to be considered as an AoE defense down. The skill is still going to be single target, right? So very important. Moving on to the eidolons, with the additional changes to the E4, which I didn't really mention because I think it's not going to be as important, but for the E4 and E6 Silver Wolf havers, them being a main DPS is going to be very powerful, especially with the E1 with the 1-turn ultimate spams, on top of running this with a sustainers or version 3 support, right? Out of every single one of the teams that I tested Silver Wolf with, she is going to be the strongest synergy with Aircraft, but there can be a viable alternative we want to run her with other DPSs, such as I'll be showing you guys later, right? I do want to special mention this a game-changing Eidolon 2. So aside from the very nice 20% vulnerability, this E2 is perfect for units like Dr. Ratio as well as Aircron, since anyone on the team can now help apply your debuffs, right, based on your different bucks. This means that the E2, on top of the previous E1, you are able to achieve 1-turn ultimates, perma defense break, AoE toughness bar reduction, 25% action value advance from the Eagle 4-piece every other turn, and all of the various debuffs you can apply from the rest of your teammates, right? In terms of damage amplification, I sincerely believe that an E2 Silver Wolf plus Cypher would be the best slot combination. We'll test out the E2 on the live server when she actually releases, because I actually have an E2 Silver Wolf since day one, right? So that's gonna be that. Now moving on to the next topic, and that is gonna be the energy regeneration portion. I really broken down to you guys exactly how can you get a 2-turn guaranteed and 1-turn guaranteed respectively, but here are the actual numbers, right? So a Silver Wolf ultimate is gonna be at 110 energy. There's no changes whatsoever, but the reason energy changes with the additional starting energy, which guarantees you immediate ultimate at the very first action, on top of the 5 energy regeneration such as you see from Rami and Tingyun. These are gonna help Silver Wolf drastically reduce the ultimate downtime, because the 5 energy does get impacted from your energy regeneration rope, right? So I've wrote down every single possible energy regen threshold for you guys, so you can refer to this table over here, right? So for your E0 Silver Wolf, you can see the one that's gonna be highlighted in green plus bolded, that is gonna be guaranteed without a shadow of a doubt you are gonna be getting your ultimate dead, right? So using a tutorial S5 plus an energy regeneration rope, you can guarantee 2-turn ultimate, no questions asked, at 118.21 energy. Every other combination for an E0 Silver Wolf, if you want an attack rope, energy regeneration without tutorial, etc., most of them are gonna be sticking to the 3-turn ultimate category, which I personally wouldn't really prefer unless you really wanted the additional damage from Silver Wolf, but I digress, right? There is one exception, which is you could consider running a tutorial S5 plus attack percentage rope plus a 2-piece energy regeneration planner, which can be Vonwek, Lushaka, or Penacony, because this hits you 103.95 energy after 2 turns, which means that as long as she gets hit twice after 2 turns, she can still get a 2-turn ultimate. Now, downside for this is that because you're expecting a 2-turn ultimate, you're also reducing the probability of yourself getting hit, because you have to get those 2 hits within those 2 actions, right, by the enemy units. So in terms of consistency, I would highly recommend players just sticking to the tutorial S5 plus energy regeneration for the guaranteed 2-turn ultimates, right? Generally speaking, I would say that the pure debuffer Silver Wolf, she would still prefer tutorial over any of the other light cones for the toughness bar damage, AoE ultimate stance, especially when you want to cross different waves in Memory of Chaos as well as pure fission, right? I also made an additional chart low here for your E1 Silver Wolf. Now for E1 Silver Wolf, you can see over here with tutorial light cone plus energy regeneration plus the 5% planar 2-piece, you can actually guarantee, yes, guarantee a 1-turn ultimate at 113.2 energy, which is absolutely insane. And for every other different scenarios, you are guaranteed a 2-turn ultimate, regardless if you are going to be running attack percentage or energy regeneration, right? Aggron S1 here, it can frankly be anything. It could be Cypher, it could be Resolution, it could be anything else. As long as it's not tutorial, you can still guarantee a 2-turn ultimate. Another exception to this is that if you do not want to run the 2-piece planar energy, so if you don't want to run Vonwek, if you don't want to run Luxshaka, you want to go for a little bit more damage, such as for example the South Solo 2-piece, then you can still technically hit a 1-turn ultimate, because you are really only missing 1.35 energy since you hit 108.65, right? So with that scenario, it's going to be a lot more likely to hit a 1-turn ultimate as compared to the previous case where you want to get 2 hits over 1 hit, right? Or if you can get a kill, that's also going to be completely fine. So generally speaking, 2-turn ultimates for any attack percentage and damage light cone options can be used, and as you pivot more and more into Silver Wolf's eidolons, especially the E4 and E6, or if you want to run her as like a main DPS sustainless, then running attack percentage rope with a damaging light cone can be an alternative, because you can see over here, you are still guaranteed a 2-turn ultimate, right? So that is pretty much that for Silver Wolf's energy regeneration. And now jumping into the builds with the introduction of these mechanics, right? The reduction in terms of your EHR requirements, as well as the availability of Aggron S1, which is one of the strongest nativity crit DPS light cones. DPS Silver Wolf is very much a possible build, and this will be in tandem with the light cone portion. I want to combine them into one, since it is ultimately either tutorial, resolution, or Cypher, or a DPS light cone like Aggron or Goodnight and Sleep Well, right? So for the debuffer build, you do want to try to hit the traditional 200 effective speed, either with a 4-piece Eagle or a 2+2 speed combination in order to hit the respective thresholds, right? For your 2-piece, you can go for the energy regeneration 2-piece, such as your Vonwek, Luxshaka, Penacony, whatever it's going to be. And with a light cone, me personally, I think tutorial S5 is still going to be the best in slot, strictly for the damage uptime. But if you really wanted the additional defense reduction from either Resolution S1 for 16% or Cypher S1 for 24%, you can consider running that as well, right? Then for the main step, it's going to be Speed Boots, EHR Body, HP Sphere, or if you really want a little bit more damage, Quantum Damage Sphere is also going to be completely fine, as well as Energy Regeneration Rope. And then for a subset, it's always going to be focusing on your EHR, right? So your 2-turn ultimate, like I mentioned, it is going to be guaranteed with a the tutorial and energy rope, and to be consistent, I didn't use the attack percentage rope for my entire showcase over here and opted for hits, but some enemies like Savrock and Nigador and True Sting, they have a lot of hits built within their kit, so do adjust accordingly, because technically speaking, with attack percentage rope, you really only just need 2 hits, which can also improve Silverwolf's personal damage, right? Now, I have found myself wasting quite a bit of action value when I was running the 4-piece Eagle, because sometimes I had to cast my ultimate during Silverwolf's turn to hold off on wasting Aggron tags or enemy mechanics by Automatron, because you don't really want to cast your ultimate too quickly, or simply because of the fact that if you get hit and she only gains this additional 5 energy at the start of her turn, I have to wait for her turn to actually begin, and then all of a sudden I get the required 110 energy. So sometimes when that situation happens, it leads to a very awkward scenario of either wasting my 25% action value from Eagle 4-piece or wasting the energy by saving the action value from the ultimate and just casting the ultimate immediately after Silverwolf goes, right? So I would say a 2+2 speed mix might be a little bit more universal, especially if you can hit the 200 speed threshold, although Eagle 4-piece value shines a lot more because Silverwolf's ultimate is 2 turn or potentially even 1 turn. So in terms of strict action value buffs, 4-piece Eagle is still going to be up there for you, but you might waste a little bit here and there, right? And then for the DPS build, you want to try to still maintain 134 speed with speed boots, or you can run a base speed Silverwolf plus a sparkle pull up, or if you still want to run attack percentage boots, sticking to 118 and running a dance with, like, for example, 3B can still be a viable speed threshold, right? Then 4-piece Quantum is going to be way better than any of the other 4-piece unless you already max out your defense down reduction from your external sources. 2-piece is going to be Salsodo, Lycon is going to be Aggron, S1 over Goodnight and Sleepwell. And then for your main stat, it's going to be your speed boots or your attack boots, crit rate body, damage within your sphere, as well as attack percentage rope. And then for a subset, it's going to be focusing on crit. Now keep in mind, your DPS Silverwolf is skills much better with version 3 support such as 3B, or if you want to run her in a sustainless team comp. I would say this is going to be a lot more difficult to build, because even though you are going to be aiming for damage, you still want to hit at least that 38%, 40% EHR, so you still want to get enough speed, enough crit, as well as the EHR to make her deal what she's going to be doing, which is basically implanting the defense down, implanting the bugs while stealing damage, right? So I would say if you are just going to be starting out playing the game and you have not been using Silver for a while and don't really have these exact pieces, especially for a 4-piece Quantum, which nobody has been farming for like 10,000 years, you don't really have to force yourself running into this specific build, right? The main DPS Silver build can be ran at 134, like I mentioned, to ensure 2 actions, or the base build with another buffer such as Sparkle or Dance. The 4-piece Quantum is going to be the definitive upgrade over every other 4-piece, assuming you have no other defense down. We're going to be over capping on the defense down, bring up to a 18.2 final percent damage increase with the 20% defense down, assuming just at 57%, which means that if you are going to be adding even more defense down sources like Resolution or Cypher, then this 18.2% can go up even higher, right? If defense down, however, is already at 100%, for example, in this Automatron fight where the Goldfish explodes, then the 4-piece Quantum that actually just doesn't really do anything, then going for the Diver or Scholar can be a substitute. Now, between both builds, I would say that the damage from a DPS Silverwolf, it can add up quite a bit over time, given the 2-turn ultimates or even 1-turn ultimate with the potential E1. Across all of the builds at E0 S0 baseline with tutorial light code, I feel that my experience playing a debuffer Silverwolf without the focus on the damage as well as just going all in for the speed was a little bit more universal, although from E1 onwards, especially if you guys do have an Aggron signature light cone, Silverwolf can definitely consider going for the DPS route while not forsaking her initial role being a debuffer for the teams, right? So that's pretty much it. With that, let's just jump into the performance itself. First of which, I want to compare the pre-buff and post-buff Silverwolf, right? So I'll show you guys the difference over here in the most popular and discussed team comp that is going to be Aggron, and whether she performs a role well as a debuffer in this specific scenario. I will discuss the main differences on what it feels like playing her after the buff, and then afterwards we'll take a look into what her different team comps outside of Aggron can be like. So with regards to MOC 12 Savrock, Silverwolf's buffs only improve her performance by 1 cycle, running the exact same relics and team comps with the E0 S1 Aggron, E0 S1 Xiaoqiu, as well as the E0 S1 Hyacinth. Now I would say that this technically lines up with my initial expectations for this specific fight, because for this MOC 12, Savrock really only has just one big enemy, with the wolf pretty much dying over time from your Aggron splash damage, which means that your pre-buff Silverwolf and post-buff Silverwolf, two of the most important things, they are not really being fully utilized, right? Because first of all, your ultimate toughness bar damage actually got reduced from 30 to 20, because is now an AoE ultimate instead of a single target ultimate. Second of all, the weakness implant is not going to be as relevant because Cyberrock is already weak to Acheron's lightning element, right? So you're not going to be getting this additional 20% res down. Now, the biggest change I felt from this entire showcase was the uptime from the ultimate. So despite the fact that the weakness down as well as the ultimate damage as well as the vulnerability is not going to be as impactful, the ultimate rotation definitely felt a lot smoother, having a very easy 2-turn ultimate given the amount of times the Wolf and Cyberrock hit. Sometimes I think I managed to squeeze out a 1-turn, I'm not too sure, but definitely guarantee a 2-turn, right? But all in all, I would say that the most impactful change for this specific showcase was definitely the energy regeneration for the fight, right? I would expect Silverwolf's performance to be far more impactful in units such as different enemy environments where they are not going to be weak against lightning for Acheron, or if they really have a lot of different enemies such as in Pure Fission, while Apoc Shadows allow the main DPS to slot into an off-element situation, right? So all in all, the buffs are a definitive upgrade for Silverwolf, and no one should be using a pre-buff version of her ever again, right? So that's pretty much it. Now the next question, and this is going to be quite interesting, and that is the Fox, the Wolf, and the Cat debate. So let's answer the biggest question that has been plaguing the Acheron mains for 10,000 years, right? Can Silver Wolf replace Jiao Qiu? Or rather, can she be used in the same team as Jiao Qiu? So I proceeded to do extensive testings with this Memory of Chaos, running the combinations of all 3 debuffers with Hyacinth and Acheron as a constant, Jiao Qiu, Silver Wolf Cypher, as well as Jiao Qiu Cypher. And you can see the results as shown over here. So between all 3 teams, the one that had Cypher turned out to be the definitive upgrade over the other 2 without Cypher, clearing at literally half the action value needed for this specific Memory of Chaos 12. So it's not really a matter of if Silver Wolf is stronger than Jiao Qiu, but from these runs, Cypher as the version 3 debuffer is a clear winner above the version 2 debuffer as well as the version 1 rework debuffer. Now between both runs, I would say that if my Acheron has 134 speed to maybe squeeze in one more action, it might have allowed Jiao Qiu Silver to get a 3 cycle, but I can see over here that the additional Acheron turn, it wouldn't have generated 9 stacks of slash streams anyways, which means there was no way I could have killed the wolf, so it was almost impossible for me to get a 0 cycle in the very first wave, at least based on the relics that I've been working with over here. Now the most likely reason for these findings is that Cypher's buffs, they are just innately stronger, with her S1 giving a 24% defense reduction as well as the 40% vulnerability, both of which can stack on quite nicely with either Jiao Qiu or Silverwolf. The true damage multiplier of 24% is also going to be the unique multiplier of all 3, cementing Cypher's strength against this Memory of Chaos, right? So despite this, I would say that in Pure Fiction, Jiao Qiu still holds a very strong advantage simply from the amount of slashing that he can generate as compared to Silverwolf and Cypher, unless you are going to be getting a E2 Silverwolf. So with this, hopefully this can end the age-old debate of like which one of them is better and who should you guys be running with an Acheron team, right? So that is pretty much it. For other teams aside from Acheron, I also tried running Silverwolf with the other mainline crit DPS team comps, namely Caceres, Herta, and Facial, with the results as following over here. So for Caceres, Silverwolf's defense down was very suitable given the fact that Caceres also has a defense down signature like on herself. The AoE burst from Caceres as Silverwolf allowed for an instant break on the Automatron, which allowed our damage to go up a lot higher without having to worry about the imprisoned crowd control. Compared to RMC or Cypher, I would say that Silverwolf is not fully an upgrade, especially when compared to Cypher, but she can definitely fit in a Caceres team for players wanting to use RMC as HMC, or those who are skipping Cypher for the upcoming Fate collaborations and using their old Silverwolf that they have not used before previously, right? Unfortunately for Herta and Facial, the performances were really not that great, resulting in a 1 cycle for the very first wave in both teams because, to be completely honest, Automatron is just a bitch, so it is what it is. Between both, I do find that Herta's slot 3 being 3B Robin on Sunday, it would be the definitive upgrade for Silverwolf, and if players already have those supports lying around without the intention of running them in other teams, then Silverwolf wouldn't really help her out that much. For Facial, the lack of follow-up attacks really hurts her ultimate uptime, even though we do hit 100% defense down with Facial's S1. Robin is pretty much also irreplaceable, so there is a hard time slotting in Silverwolf with Facial, right? So with that, we have come to the conclusion. I would say that Silverwolf's buffs definitely make her a lot more relevant. Perhaps there might even be some uses for her in other team comps, such as for example maybe even Archer, right? Because he does rely on a burst damage with Sparkle giving him skill points. That being said, it's very difficult to justify a slot for Silverwolf for a lot of our current teams because our current and older teams already have a more or less defined team as of this current moment. And Silver Wolf, at least at the E0 S0 baseline, it doesn't feel that she can be an upgrade to any of our existing team comps, more like a side grade for players that actually skipped any of those definitive teammates, right? So it's almost as if Silver Wolf, she finally became the direct Pella upgrade, right? She's no longer baby Pella, she's basically the better Pella. We have joked about this ever since version 1, but the thing is, Pella herself, she also never really fit in as a best in slot support for any of our DPS at the current moment. And Silver Wolf's buffs, it reflects that outside of Aircon teams, you really run her around with Cypher, right? So I would say because of all these, I wouldn't push Silver Wolves just because she got a buff, but it is more so that for those players who already put Silver Wolf and you want to experience a breath of fresh air running her again, slam the AoE defense down, or if you already have the Silver Wolf back in the past and you can potentially save you a pool from your otherwise you would have spent if you wanted to get the best in slot support for this specific team, right? And then this upgrade Silver can definitely act as a side grade to potentially save you the Stellar Jace for the upcoming Fate collaboration or any of the other team comps that you want to build in the future, right? The most impactful change, mainly for your eidolons in Silver Wolf's E1 as well as E2, that is gonna be a definitive upgrade, especially for E2 Silver Wolf owners since version 1. I wouldn't tell people to just say go ahead and pull for the E2 Silver Wolf right now because that is still gonna be 3 5 stars if you start putting all the way from not having Silver Wolf. But for players that already have an E2 Silver Wolf, this is gonna be a very nice upgrade because I believe that her utility, it will drastically improve the energy rotations as well as the additional debuffs of what used to be the worst E2 in the entire game, right? So I will be running the E2 version out in the future, but for now, I'm gonna wrap up this Silver Wolf rework. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below as I'm gonna be tackling more rework early access for you guys, right? So whatever day is gonna be, but what if again, right? Join Twitch, join Discord, join Twitter, all the best for gacha pools. I'll see you guys next time.